from Vitality, who just took down Fnatic. They're here to talk about our next matchup between the Unicorns of Love and Schalke 04. But obviously, first up, I want to talk to you guys about your win. Fantastic game, I would say, from your side. Jizuke, how do you think you did?
I think I did great.
Yeah.
I still can't believe it. I performed like that. Like it was. I had a good matchup mid, and I knew I could roam top and bot. I didn't do much stuff early on, but I'm proud that I performed like this after in mid game and late game.
Well, the fans seem to think the same because we asked them who they think the player of the game was, and they voted for you with 85% of the votes. Jizuke, you not only had an interesting or fantastic scoreline, you went godlike, but you also just killed the Nexus by yourself, so that must have felt good.
Yeah. Holy shit.
That's okay, just leave that there.
Yeah, it felt good. The call of the end was mine. I was like, they went to Elder Drake, and I was they were 5 men and only Vladimir could TP, so I said, just stop their bases. And we are going to end the Kabosh RTP, and that's what we did. And it was really close. They were about to kill me, but I did it in time.
Yes, you did it in time. It was very close. Yamato Cannon, was it a calm experience or rather stressful today?
No, it was definitely emotional for me too. I tried to hide it. Of course, I'm the coach. I have to. And usually I have an easy time doing that, but today it was definitely something special. I think you know, we got picks that we were comfortable with. We got to play what we wanted to play, and we got a very good start, and everyone got into the zone very early on. And I think as a coach, that's what you want from your players, to be in that zone, that scrim zone. And I think it's fantastic that you have such an easy time getting into that zone.
Well, let me ask you something. After last week, you guys are only 2-0 team, but some people are saying, well, obviously they didn't maybe play the strongest teams in the league yet. Now you beat Fnatic. Is that different for you guys as well, or does that really not matter who you beat?
Well, let's be honest, like H2K and Giants, like Giants 2-1, they beat also top teams. H2K also beat Fnatic. You know, maybe we beat the best teams in the first week.
Well, we will wait and see, but it does seem to be the case. For now, Jizuke, one last thing before we move on. You know, we call you the Italian Stallion, and I just think it's really cool that you're representing the Italian community. How has that been like for you? Probably not just the Italian fans, but everyone's been going crazy for you.
I mean, it's an honor for me for being the first Italian player, and I'm proud that I can represent them good from the very start. Like I was scared that we will not perform early on, but we gave a good performance so far. First week and now second week, so I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, I think you should be. Fantastic start. Well, now let's move on to our next matchup, because just a few minutes, Schalke 04 and Unicorns of Love will square off on the Rift. UOL are the only team yet to pick up a win and will be looking to shake things up here in week 2. Let's take a look at their lineup with White Knight in the top lane, Cold in the jungle, Exile, Samux, Totoro, and their coach, Sheepy. So Yamato Cannon, Sheepy is a guy that's been around for a long time. He has a big project on his hands here with Hylissang and Vizichachi no longer on the team, and a lot of new elements. So what do you think of kind of the team they've put together, and how far do you think they might get?
I feel like the curious question for me always with Unicorns of Love was Sheep the identity, or was the 2 players that left the identity? I was always curious about what the dynamic was, but I get the feeling from practicing against the Unicorns of Love and seeing them on stage, I feel like they're playing a bit different. I think Samux and Exile still have that UOL factor where they go for trades, or players are thinking to themselves, why are they doing this? But sometimes it works. They have that magic to themselves. But I think the rest of the players that have come in bring a more standard type of play to the Rift. So I think UOL is more calm now than before.
Calm before. Jizuke, what has been your impression of the Unicorns of Love so far?
I agree with Yamato so far. I feel like with the removal of Vishash and Hylissang, like this team doesn't have a direction, let's say. Like right now, I don't really know where they are playing on. Like what lane, mid top or mid bot.
Well, that's also when we've watched the games, it's really hard to think where are they going to put their attention. And that might also be interesting if you're the opponent playing them, because if your opponent doesn't have an idea of what they're doing yet, then how are you supposed to find out? We'll see what happens. I would like to turn the attention on the other team on the Rift and Schalke 04. Obviously, they picked up the win against Roccat to start the split last week, and this is their lineup. Vizichachi in the top lane, Pride in the jungle, then Yukruk, Upset, and Vander, and their coach, Andre. One tidbit, Vizichachi is going up against the Unicorns of Love, and he played for that team for so long. Grudge matches, this and that. How much is that really a thing, going up versus an ex-team or versus, you know, someone who maybe beat you before? Has any of you got an opinion on that?
On my end,
He's pointing to his coach.
on my end, I've never really had an idea like that. I tried to remove that idea from players, but of course, you know, I think there's always the conversation. For example, we faced Giants. That was also a bit like a thing, because of course, we stole the players, blah blah blah. And of course, it's something that is said, but I've never felt that it ever affects it. I've never been a part of that kind of a beef.
All right. Well, these players are just playing their own game. A lot of expectations on them before the split, even. A very hyped lineup. Obviously, they started with a false start last week. Upset wasn't able to play. Now he's back, but Jizuke, all the other players have already had their first games on stage, and the stress is maybe a bit gone. Do you think for him it might be a bit extra stressful because he kind of needs to prove himself today, and all the players have already had some experience?
I think he won't be stressed at all. Like, I felt sad for him first week because he couldn't play. Like, I imagine if it would happen to myself. But I think now he just wants to prove right away who he is and if he's good or not. So I don't think he will be stressed at all.
Well, we'll see. Obviously, he probably has been recovering a bit last week as well. Yamato, if you're the coach, what do you say to this player, you know? Because everyone's kind of looking at him, but on the other hand, it's a tough situation to be in.
Of course, like I was talking to some of the other Schalke players, and his the sickness he had was pretty severe. And of course, you know, the way you have to see it is just another obstacle that you have to work yourself by. They should be happy that they went 1-1. I think they had the substitute that fit the occasion, and right now they just have to look at what's ahead of them. And the question is, like, did they practice with him or without him? And my impression is that they practiced with him the entire time, and I think that's what's important in the end. Like, did they see this coming? Was it a last-second kind of resort to switching him out? And talking to Vander, they didn't practice at all with him, AD, and they pulled off a 1-1. And I think that's like a really, really good scenario for them.
That is incredibly impressive.
Should have been 0-2, but they won.
They won. They found it in
without
themselves
a bot
to
lane,
win.
pretty much.
Exactly. Without a bot lane, hey, Vander played pretty well there.
I mean, like I was watching Nukdak on rides, and it was a pretty 1-1. So,
I was going to ask you about that. We are going to get into picks and bans in a second, but Jizuke, Nukdak is a guy we've looked at so much. Yamato obviously has a lot of experience with him, and you're talking highly of him. What do you think of him as a player?
I respect him a lot. He's one of the best mid laners in US, you know.
What specifically is he good at if you play versus him?
He has a lot of experience. He's smart. He has mechanics. He has the whole package. He just has to show it up on stage. That's what he misses.
And it might be necessary today again. Yamato, obviously you have a bit of experience. You know Nukdak very good as well.
Nukdak, I think as a mid laner, if you just focus on that part, I think he's ideal. Like, I think he plays the lane phase. I wouldn't be scared to, like in the past, if I sent him against anyone, I wouldn't be scared. But in this case, we have Jizuke and LCS, so everything changes. But Nuktak, I think his weakness was always, if his matchup required other people to impact it, then he wasn't the person to bring the people around in the jungle, the support, to impact that matchup in the way that is required to, even though he has that information within him. So I think that would be his weakness.
All right, interesting thing to track. Let's talk a bit more about Unicorns of Love before we get into picks and bans. Exile is on the other side. Exile is a man who, well, we know his faults. Last year didn't go so well. So do you think this is something that they can change, or do you think it might take a bit more time just because the other members around them are new as well? So he has kind of a lot to adjust to.
I feel like when it comes to Exile as a player, he's the type of player, at the poker table, he comes there and he doesn't look at his cards and he just does all in. And sometimes it works. A lot of mid laners that I worked with in the past, when they play against Exile, they're like, I can't play against this guy. He plays so crazy.
So all in all the time.
And I'm like, it's excuses. Just focus on the fact this is the game and he can't do anything out of the ordinary. But he plays so different. Sometimes it works, but I think in the long run, you end up losing.
You find that hilarious, Jizuke, as we go into picks and bans?
No, just talking about Exile.
All right. Well, we'll see what pick he gets here, because there are some picks where he's obviously quite proficient on. We'll see what comes out here. Kha'Zix and Rengar ban from the side of the Unicorns of Love. So immediately towards that jungle pool. Also the Evelyn. What are we making of this? And where do you think Unicorns should put their attention in the bans, Yamato?
I think in this case, Pride in his solo queue, you can look at the stream, he's been playing a lot of these assassin junglers, Evelyn, Rengar, Kha'Zix. That is what he's known for. He used to be a Rengar one-trick. And a lot of this is something that Trashy has been playing in his LCS games, but he's known for the Sejuanis and the tanks. So I think this is a good scenario for him.
Yeah, very much might be. Trashy is now Cole.
Yeah.
We should repeat that. What do you think of Cold in that lineup? It seemed that last week he was playing more aggressive junglers, which is not immediately something I expected. How do you think he'll work within that team?
I thought at first I remember all the memes we had about UOL when we were in Splice, but now he's in there, and I think I think Trashy as a player, I think, and as a person, I think he can fit in any scenario. He's really down to earth. He always very easy to work with, so I think he fits in any scenario, and UOL is also one of them.
All right, well, let's see what happens here. We've got a Braum first pick coming out of the Unicorns of Love, and then on the other side, a response with the AD carry. Possibly, we could look at maybe if it's Upset's first game, they want to give him something that is comfortable on Jizuke. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, Upset is a hyper carry player. I remember in Challenger Series, in LCS qualifiers, we banned like 3 hyper carries and forced him on Varus Ash. And he actually picked Varus, he was useless, and then we won the game.
Oh, so this is a good pick for him.
Yeah, it's a good pick for him. So yeah,
Well, we'll see.
he's good hyper carry, for sure.
And I think it's kind of, Yamato, it's a good pick for him, but it is also somewhere that you really have to perform and carry on that Kog'Maw. You have to deal the damage late, so...
Yeah, for sure. I think the longer range AD carries are easy to play the further you go into the game, and also the fact that the enemy team showed Braum, I think Kog'Maw can be pretty safe. Probably they're going to pick up Tamkins later on, and he's going to be completely cool laning in that lane phase.
Yeah, you could be
He will free
correct.
farm pretty much.
Do you think with the Jarvan pick, they'll also be looking to go bot lane often, or where do you think the focus is going to be?
I think it depends on the mid lane matchup.
Yeah, I agree on
It's
that.
not picked yet. I mean, unless it's Vladimir, but we don't think so, Jizuke.
I
Could be
think
actually. Excel has played it.
Excel plays it, but blind Vladimir is really...
We just said he was a poker player, so maybe just go blind Vladimir. Why not?
I mean, like, if unless they pinch 2 mid laners right now, I don't see it. I think the Vladimir will be top. It's played a lot in this meta right now.
Yep.
Into Nyar, into Ornn, stuff like that.
Seems pretty logical. We'll see what comes out going into the second ban phase. Juani off the table for Schalke and Noir off the table for the Unicorns of Love. Not too much pinching of the mid lane so far, which surprised me. You'd be very happy probably. Or Rise is not there.
I can play against anything. I don't mind.
You can?
Yeah.
He can.
You have trust? Okay, well, you're not giving anything away. You're just scaring your opponents.
I think
Of course.
in this case, first I thought Schalke would just ban mid laner, set
Yeah,
themselves
same.
up for a good mid lane pick, but
Yeah.
with so many jungle bans, it also makes sense to remove these. And right now, like, what do you play in jungle? Like Gragas or like like Lee Sin? Like, where do you land here?
Well,
in the
I don't
jungle?
know. I think Cold last week, I said he played Evelyn. They even first picked, and he played Rengar, which was unexpected. So possibly they have some other avenues in their back pocket. We will see. We've got the top lane matchups, I think. And there comes the mid laners, Jizuke, Azir.
Like I see this draft, and I already know that they will ignore Vishashi in the top lane and just play mid bot. They let play aggressive them. And I think Nukdak is going with Redsband, Zoeband. What is he going?
We'll see.
Kassadin, LeBlanc,
Cassian LeBlanc?
maybe a classic Varus from the Stone Age.
Maybe
Yamato?
Jace? He puts out the Jace?
Maybe. I don't know.
They have a lot of FP. So I got Kog, Tamkins, maybe.
Yamato, what would you like to see this Unicorns of Love comp rounded out with?
I think it's so hard to pick a jungler, but
Ooh,
I think,
yes!
yes.
We've got the Kane lock.
That's a solution.
That is a solution.
Yeah.
Dracos, our play-by-play caster, he actually is a great Kane, and he also always loves playing it. But I'm really happy that we get to see it on the professional stage. So what do you think of this comp overall as we see the Malzahar, who slipped through for Schalke 04? What do you think is the main lane they're going to focus on, UOL and Schalke, Yamato?
I think in this case, Schalke, they need to play through mid, use the fact that Malzahar reaches 6, they need to gank him, because otherwise UOL side is going to heavily outscale. I'm really impressed that UOL found a solution to this jungle problem, needed an AD jungler against Jarvan. I think it's perfect, he's going to steal his Raptors, and it's all about the scaling game for UOL side.
Right.
Like, I think overall it was Schalke's fault. They should have picked the fourth pick Azir.
Yeah, for sure.
It was the only one broken pick left for mid. So they just pick Azir, and Exile will be on Vladimir LeBlanc, but Azir can win the match.
You think Schalke dropped the ball? in
For
second
sure.
ban?
They should have picked Azir, and it would have been like...
and they would have counter for top as well.
Yeah.
And they could have changed the plan and just play on top mid. And they had the
Alright.
2 counter matchups. I don't know.
So,
It was weird.
if I was to ask who won the draft, it seems like Schalke lost it rather for you guys, Unicorns of Love.
For sure.
Won, as we get a look at them there. It's going to be very interesting to see. So, are you guys then also putting your prediction, your post-ban prediction, on the Unicorns of Love? Or is there a way for Schalke to get back in there?
I mean, I think Schalke draft looks worse, but they will still win the game.
But are they better players? Yeah, that's
they
what I
will
was
still
gonna
win
say.
the game for me.
They will still win the game.
I'm
What is your
putting
mark?
my poker chips on UOL.
Oh my God! Wow. Yeah, you're really bold. Like.
Oh, look at
bold.
the draft. I think Schalke, they just into the draft in the end, though.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, for sure.
But they're better players, I agree with
They're
you.
better players.
Yeah, that is the question. We'll see how they get onto the Rift. The Unicorns of Love really need a win. They don't have one yet, so we'll see what happens. Let's get into the game with our casters.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Now, personally, I'm incredibly excited about this game, of course. Always excited to see a Kane pick. Kane in the LCS warms my heart, Officio.
We did hear, though, from Dizuke and Yamada Cannon, they felt like Schalke, to quote them, entered the draft towards the end when they did not take the Azir away from Unicorns of Love.
So let's talk about it a little bit. What do you think the logic is on Schalke's end not to opt for the Azir as we start to get into level 1 here?
I think Schalke were kind of looking at this draft and saying, okay, Unicorns are baiting us to pick Azir, and they will have some pick prepared against it. So they grabbed the Cho'Gath instead, which they want to have against the Vladimir top, and said, we're going to wait and see what they play. And I think Nukdog said he's actually fine grabbing Malzahn and just trade that and not risk any sort of counter pick. But it could also just be Schalke saying we needed a Cho'Gath as a priority pick in case Unicorns want to play Vladimir mid and then take a Cho'Gath for White Knight. But it's always interesting with these decisions. A lot of it comes down to player comfort. And if Nukdog is telling his team, I'm fine taking Malzahn here, just give them Azir, well, then the coach is going to listen to that. And still, we have to see if it actually ends up being a big problem for them. Definitely agree that it was a very risky thing they decided to do.
Well, for now, check out how the early game is going to go. Of course, Kane in competitive play, not really about early aggression here. This is a champion that is incredibly quick at clearing the jungle, reliably can get through it much faster than a Jarvan would be able to, but unfortunately his ability to 1v1, not comparable.
And also a big problem for him is how fast can he get his evolution. Let's see. First of all, we got to talk about Upset down in the bot lane. He's back. He was sadly for himself out last week due to illness. He's now on stage playing his first LCS game ever.
Now, there's a lot of people with high expectations for this guy, but we will see how he performs, kind of adjust from there. We have had a lot of strong rookie AD carries already. Interesting here that Cold is going for the invade. Starting with red buff should give him a little bit of an edge. Can very easily clear Raptors. Instead, it looks like he might go for the steal. Knows that Pride is low. Really the only way he wins out, but nice play from Pride. Able to get to level 3 and get out of the fight. Cold backs out, does not have the level advantage.
So not only did he get the CC on the Kane right here, he got enough damage on the red buff to then kill it. Chachi is roaming down very early.
This is very bad news for Cold. Really wanted to get that level 3 now. Pretty significantly behind. Should be able to catch up. Taking this buff will be quite easy. And thus Pride decides to go for the invade. Bit of a tough spot to be in.
Schalke's side, though, when you look at their level 6, that's where really, especially around mid lane, they can start making a lot of plays happen with Jarvan and Malzahn. Same thing top, actually, with a Cho'Gath running Ignite early on with the spell book. So I think Schalke will be happy with Vizicachi being able to kind of control top side and see if they can make a play around either top or mid. Spot lane with the time Kench, you don't really want to spend time ganking for him.
Now Nukdog trying to play in the creep
Oh,
wave,
there's
trying to
a lot of
punish
damage.
Exile. He might have stayed too long in there. The shield from Shifting Sands is going to back him up. The heal will come out. Cold now wants to leap forward. Not going to connect on anything.
And completely unnecessary right there from Exile. You do not have to step into 6 or 7 minions to take an early trade at level 3. So much damage from Nukdog. No TP from Exile because the heal was just used for himself. So now that summoner spell is going to be on cooldown. No way to get back in the lane very quickly. Nukdog gets the early edge so far. Him saying, you know what, I don't care about Azir. Let me just last pick mid. Working out.
And Cold threatening, not wanting to let him recall, but we'll back out of the lane, let the lane reset. Keep our eyes on bot lane. But Cold is a guy that I think we have to talk about because as one of the newest additions to the Unicorns of Love, we kind of expect a lot from him overall. Has been a pretty big playmaker in previous games, but I wonder how playing this Kane is going to affect him. He's been really interesting in terms of what he's been bringing in.
Yeah, he's been changing his style from this like very supportive jungler he was on Splice to now trying to be much more of a carry. I think he's looking at his team and saying he needs to be one of the guys who can step up and win games for Unicorns of Love. Early on, he's been active. He's been pulling off ganks. I loved his Rengar game we saw last week where at level 6, he was getting kills, he was camping top lane. This game here now, Pride might get caught out.
Could be in trouble. Already burned the flag, and Drag needs to back out. Stopwatch not available quite yet, but he has a lot of health. Cold's going to flash over the wall, looking for the Reap Strike. Not going to connect with enough damage in the end.
A very aggressive play here from Cold, trying to get an early kill for himself on this Kayn here. Nuktuk though, feeling very safe in the lane, and Pride has to flash out. And that jungle matchup is important, not only because it's Kayn being picked on one side, also because Pride has been farming a lot early on. He's been active enough when he needed to fight something, either in a skirmish or if he needs to come down for one quick gank. But as you can see, the jungle proximity, the one in the middle, he is second last in the EU LCS, so he's not spending a ton of time sitting and camping for lanes or trying to be very patient with his ganks. He's actually very good at timing it with the laner, saying, okay, now we can go for a kill. He comes down to execute it very quickly, he gets a high K plus A, and then he goes back to just power farming.
And the important thing here is that he's being very active in terms of counter-jungling Cold. Cold tries to invade him early, he sees the opportunity, doesn't work out for him, and now Pride is just playing so aggressive. Has the level advantage, and this is huge for the team.
And you can't invade as a Kayn when your mid laner is getting absolutely dumpstered in the early game. Exile had to go back a second time now. 26 CS only, we'll get a few more here. Nuktuk just hit level 6. You can literally just call go mid now, ult onto Exile with Pride there, and you're either forcing him back to base or you're killing him.
And this is a really tough spot to be too. They're relying on Cold to be a better scaling threat than the Jarvan, but they need time for him to get there. And as each of these lanes starts to lose out, it gets harder and harder, and Vizicachi even doing his part to deny the jungle. Kayn, if he gets fed, yes, he can be a threat. He's a terrifying champion to play against in solo queue, but this isn't going to be a Shadow Assassin. Rost is way more powerful and way more reliable. Of course, Shadow Assassin, if you're fed, OP. Not going to deny it. Insanely strong.
Sucks against Tahm Kench.
But sucks definitely against Tahm Kench. Not great against Malzahar either. Not great against a champion like Cho'Gath, who has a silence. Very hard to play.
And if Cold is not getting enough early fights and skirmishes, it will stack very slowly for him. And that's one of the big problems professional junglers highlight with Kayn, is if you're unlucky, you're not getting that evolution until like, what, 20 minutes into the game? And then it's too late for you to start having an impact, because he's such a different champion when he gets the upgrade.
And keep in mind, the later we go, the faster it will scale. But when you hit 20 minutes, all it takes is hitting a champion once or twice to proc it. However, if you hit a ranged champion, you're going to be in trouble. However, look at Nuktuk, level 7, on the way in. Vizicachi is here as well, the flash forward. They have the chain CC, no chance for Exile to get out. The silence, he can't even push any buttons. Oh, Malefic Visions is going to get the first blood.
Welcome to Malzahar in the mid lane, getting his ulti. It wasn't Pride, it was instead Vizicachi with a very good roam. Double silence on the side of Schalke. Great chaining of that from their side, and they get a kill. So Exile is back in base for the third time during the 7.5 minutes we've been in the game. Probably almost spent more time in the fountain than in his actual mid lane.
So Deficio, what is the big lane that we have to look at? Because if you let me talk, I'm going to talk about Kayn.
Well, I've been talking about mid lane quite a lot. I think that's been a big lane to look at, and I think so far it's been paying off for Schalke. Another one, top lane. While there won't be a lot of kills, Vizicachi is not going to die against White Knight. White Knight needs time to scale in this matchup, and Chachi just wants to push the lane so that he keeps pressure topside.
And has been using that pressure to good effect. Roamed mid already, so Schalke definitely in control in terms of macro game, definitely finding themselves as a small tempo advantage. Cold is going to get spotted out. Actually, the diligence here in terms of providing vision on Kayn is incredible. Silence has been used as a good time for Cold to go in. He is going to use the Shadow Step to get through the wall. Big slash and Blade's reach. Sadly not too effective quite yet.
Well, he got the flash at least, meaning White Knight gets a bit more time to just sit and farm in his lane. Meanwhile, bot lane, Samax on this Tristana here, getting some damage on it too. Schalke's bot lane, they just want to farm, they don't want to fight anything, they just want to get Rage Blade, and then they can actually start doing something on the map. So they're very happy, just kind of holding the bottom side. And with Upset, now that he's playing in the LCS, he's not the kind of guy who will just stomp the lane. When we watched him in Challenger a lot, it was scaling picks. Almost all the time. Jizuke said it when they played against.
They banned those hyper carries away. Don't let him have them.
3 of them against him. Teams like to just let him sit and farm and then play top and mid lane for most of the early game. And then in team fights, Upset can shine. For now, he's farming. Meanwhile, Nuktuk can call for another gank in mid. There is ulti available. Let's see if they pull something off.
Vizicachi now moving in. Really good trade in the end. Does not want to overcommit onto the Vladimir. Of course, so much healing presence in the kit. Not quite enough burst for Vizicachi yet. You can see the Feast is on cooldown. There's no opportunity to all in.
And right now, because of Nukdog's control in the mid lane being 2 levels above Exile before these waves of minions will die, Pride gets full control of the river. That means he gets control of this dragon. Good start from Nukdog in the mid lane. 92 CS.
To Fisher, this is just textbook League of Legends. Get the pressure advantage, use that to get objectives. Schalke are just playing a nice, clean, slow game here. And not slow like we're waiting to scale, but more, we'll get these small advantages, we'll turn them into slightly smaller advantages, and we'll continue at a very even pace, snowballing the game even further in our favor.
Rift Herald can be another objective for them now that it's spawned. Again, Nukdog will keep the control in the mid lane. He's going to be a level above Exile for most of the pre-20 minutes. Pride gets a good deep ward in, and at the moment Schalke can also use naughty boy can also use the Time Kench ulti if they actually want a lane swap from bot side up to top. Vladimir's wave play is not great if he's getting pressured on the turret, so you can do a very quick swap with Time Kench into a quick push, and then you secure top lane turret.
For now, though, it looks like they might just be looking for the tower dive play. Pride knows that he's been spotted. Spooky Ghosts have been used, but White Knight's just going to concede the tower. That means Cho'Gath is going to get a few autos in for free if he wants to. Just a pressure game in the end.
Exile's going back again. He just came from base like 30 seconds ago, pushed one wave, went back one more time. So Nukdog gets another free push mid, and then he can once again leave the mid lane just by him going out of vision. Unicorns of Love, they don't exactly know where he is, even if it's back in base. They're always calling, mid lane is missing, he could be top, he could be bot lane, just respect that fact.
And you can see Cold on the top side, but he still is not transformed. He does not have a ton of damage, and he has no CC in his kit, which means if he wants to gank this top lane, they're very reliant on the Spooky Ghost to get things started, and it's really hard to kill that Cho'Gath.
And he's not been fighting a lot. He's not been getting that many stacks in this game just yet. If he can get a great fight and a kill, sure, he might get it, but for now, it's just more farming, more control in mid for Nukdog. 111 CS at this point. Itachi, 115, so Schalke just farming up a storm.
Yeah, doing so well across just about every single lane. The only lane that's really even is the bottom side of the map. And for Cold and the Unicorns of Love, things just get harder and harder. They banked on the Kayn pick. They banked on the scaling. Now, ideally, they'd be in a position to counter jungle, even if they can't fight to get Cold a massive CS lead, if they can fight to get him an early transformation, but it's just not happening yet. Cold, however, remains determined. Ready to use the Shadow Step. Ghosts are going to come out. Blade's Reach should follow up. Looking for the slow. Can ult inside if he needs to, but has to be careful. Emo Plague comes out. TP is going to be used. Vizichachi ready for a fight, but they're both going to back off. The exchange not going to give enough for Kayn to transform.
Vizichachi's flash was ready again due to the reduced cooldown of the spellbook, so he was actually ready, just baiting, waiting for Nukdog's TP. Cold at least got a few hits on a melee champion. It's kind of the only thing he gained from that gank top lane, and I guess, to be fair, also the TP cooldown from Nukdog.
Rinse and repeat, though. You can see him again on the top side, but the counterplay is ready on the side of Schalke. They're looking at the bottom side of the map. We'll spot out the ward.
Nukdog didn't show yet. If he's still sitting there, he's not. He went back to mid. I still think they can just make a play mid lane and try and force Exile's flash once again. Obviously, he will stay far away from Nukdog, but if they do get a chance.
They're in a good spot to do so. You can see Bot is winning the push right now for them. Mid
but
as well.
Look how far back Exile is sitting. Like, Nukdog could flash ult him, but he's under the turret and wouldn't be the smartest play just yet. So it's fine. They're just pushing it in, and once again, Schalke control the entire river due to this mid lane pressure from Nukdog.
And they just keep seeing Cold. The vision in the jungle is so good. They know where this guy is at all time. You can see that they're warding the camps. The entire bot side is lit up. It's a difficult position for Unicorns of Love to be in because there's not really any avenues.
They don't have a lane to play around at the moment other than try and go top and hit Vizichachi just to try and get the Kayn to get his Wrath form. That's kind of been the play so far. See if he's going to switch it up, or if he's just going to take the Crocs down here and be like, I'm just farming, doing nothing else. With the amount of vision, Schalke should spot him soon. There is a clear path to bot lane if he goes for a lane gank, but it is difficult to gank a stopwatch Tahm Kench lane.
Difficult spot to be in for sure. Not really a good target for him to leap onto. Kog'Maw normally would be something you're excited to see, but as you mentioned, Tahm Kench.
So Schalke can just go for topside once again, either threaten a dive or start the Rift Herald soon, because they're going to keep having pressure top and mid at the same time.
And Schalke just doing such a good job to punish Unicorns of Love for their drafts, taking advantage of pressure in each of the lanes. Vizichachi going to play under the tower, silencing to make sure White Knight can't get any further follow, but now it's 3 members on the top side. TP going to be used. The Schalke going to commit for this. Right now they're backing out. Vizicachi going to be quite low. Flag and drag takes Pride to safety. Schalke back off on the top side.
That's what we've seen from Schalke now in a few games. They don't go for that super risky 50-50 play. Try and play it super safe. Now they can just re-gank top because they just forced the teleport. Worst case, Chachi gets some damage on turret.
Of course, love pressuring. Bottom side, that's going to free up Cold to invade the jungle, may give him a bit of an edge, but he has already been pinged out by the Schalke lineup. So Pride and Vizicachi feel comfortable just moving in to take down this tower. It's going to be the first of the game, going over to the side of Schalke Nolfi.
Talked about that pressure top lane, using the push from Vizicachi, control from Nukeduck mid. Smart, calculated, no big risk just yet. Exile will get a blue buff. Bot lane, again, normally you could go down with 4 men and try and tower dive it. They are actually looking for it, but again, stopwatch on, upset.
Have to be careful. No way to lock up Cold, though. That's good. He will be able to
And the minion wave is just dead. The minion wave is dead. You cannot do it without the minion wave there. Too risky. Nukeduck gets now a full wave hitting the turret. They can just kill it.
Pride is here. They're going to move forward. Azir is on the way, has full mana. They may look to make a play here, but has to be careful. Cold comes in as well, but if he gets ulted, he will not get the chance to ult. They're ignoring him and moving immediately onto Exile. Cold can't even help. He doesn't have any tools available to stop Schalke from taking down this tower.
And just the coordination is always there in terms of Nukeduck will only ult when there's follow-up CC or silence available. So Chachi came in, flashed for it as well. So did Pride. 3 flashes actually used to kill Exile. They really hate him. Absolutely, they really hate Exile in that mid lane. But it's worth it because they get a mid lane turret.
White Knight now, without a tower there, means Vizicachi can just keep moving forward, but maybe Cold can finally find a kill. The flash not going to get knocked up or CC. Blaze Reach provides a bit more of a slow. They're slowly but surely chunking him down. Ult inside, that's the Umbral Trespass, a little bit uncomfortable. The freeze frame comes out, but this is the setup for the kill. Who's going to grab it? Cold does in the end. That is the Darkened Blade now activated. Rost has been unlocked, and this is a massive point for Unicorns of Love.
And that was the most classic Vizicachi play ever. Do something great, secure a kill with your team. Mid lane and jungler recalls, and Chachi just walks straight to top lane. Doesn't care, just walks into the top lane, starts trading with the enemy top laner. No one can help him, and he gets ganked and he dies. And now, Kayn just got his Rast.
And here's the thing you have to understand. Before transformation, Kayn is like 70% of a champion. He doesn't do a lot, he farms really well, he moves around the map really well. But after transformation, he's like 1.3 champions. He is so powerful, he is so strong. The amount of CC and sustain in this kit.
1.3, so better than all other champions, right?
I would say. I would say. A lot of powerful tools in the kit. Takes him a long time to get them, but definitely can be a threat.
So why did Chachi do that? Why did you just give Unicorns of Love way back in the game by securing a kill for Cold?
I mean, it's good that you bring it up. I feel like this is something that Vizicachi has struggled with for a long time. Unicorns of Love, Vizicachi, or Schalke no fear Vizicachi. Always a little bit far up on that side lane.
Oh, they're starting this Drake here. I don't think we're going to get a fight. Instead, mid lane.
Yeah, press R to win. Exile, unfortunately, just going to get taken down. Perfect timing for Nukeduck. Brings it in, killing spree. Chachi secures the dragon. Outside of the single death. It's just about a flawless game for Schalke no fear.
Some of the same issues for Unicorns of Love as last split with Exile in the mid lane. Some games he's doing well, some games this happens. He started this whole thing by taking a trade in like 7 minions. Forced back early, Nukeduck got early level 6, and then they went straight mid and killed him.
I think Yamato said it best. He goes in, he wants to play some poker. Sometimes he needs to look at his hand, doesn't always look at his hand, goes all in anyway. But now Cold is in a good position to set this up. They can look to lock down Vander. Keep your eyes on the Blade's Reach. Where's the knockup going to go? Who are they going to target? They need to hit Vander too. Cole gets the setup. That's going to be 2, but the Hourglass comes out. Thick skin for Vander means he'll be alive for now, but should be easy for him to get taken down. Cold starting to reap, starting to bring it in for the team. Can he turn this one back? Ultimate is still available for the Kayn. He should still be alive. Vladimir, so much damage in this team fight. Nukeduck is in trouble. Samus is suddenly on the back line. Unicorns of Love are looking for the turn. You cannot touch the Kayn in the meantime as he starts to cut through the Schalke lineup.
What a big fight right there for Unicorns of Love after losing mid lane so hard. They go bot lane. TP play was set up much earlier with that ward here. Great reaction from the team, and they get multiple kills here. Schalke tried to respond, but it backfired, and they also lost Nukeduck. Let's see it again. This ward behind Schalke has been placed here 2 minutes ago, ready for a potential TP play in case there was a push. Nice gank coming in from Cold. A lot of CC now they can apply. And Exile, he's down here for some revenge, and he gets a nice knockback. And there's really nothing Schalke's bottom lane can do. They're just trying to buy time for the rest of Schalke to show up. But they come in now and it's 5v3, and they cannot secure a kill.
And just such good patience to start off the fight. You could see them waiting on the CC to make sure they can hit both the Tahm Kench and the Tristana, and now the cleanup's just easy.
And we keep looking at this Kayn. 3,000 damage in the last team fight. Reminder, it was a slow game for Cold until Vizicachi decided to basically offer himself to Cold up in that top lane.
And to be fair to Vizicachi, this is sort of inevitable. The later you go, Kayn will eventually transform.
Sure, he'll get there
but if you
at some
give
point.
it to him 2 minutes, even 2 minutes earlier, that is a huge disadvantage to give away.
Black Cleaver now completed for Cold. In these team fights, he will be tough to kill because of his ulti, because of the amount of HP he gets back. A lot of armor penetration coming in from his side. And the amount of CC he's going to bring with the knockup can be crucial for Unicorns of Love. They want long team fights where you're trying to waste a bunch of resources killing a Vladimir or a Kayn. Then they pool, they heal back with the ultis, and you're like, okay, well, we just wasted all our time and we didn't even kill you. And then suddenly, the amount of DPS coming in from Unicorns of Love in these long fights, the consistent damage from Azir, Tristana, that's going to be tough to deal with if you are Schalke.
It's a rough spot to be in. Schalke,
They're still fine for now because they have this super fed Malzahn, and they've been winning mid lane
but
so hard.
they went from absolute control of the map, absolute control of the macro game, to suddenly on a much more even footing. They're more vulnerable now. They have to respect the Kayn, whereas earlier in the game, they had perfect knowledge of his pathing and basically could ignore him across the lanes. Fortunately, ignoring him is what started to turn this. Now, however, Exile hopefully can be a little bit more comfortable. Has had a bit more time to farm up. Now a QSS to keep him safe against Nuke Duck. It's not like being the center of attention.
Schalke hoping someone shows up to try and duel Nuke Duck. Pride is already there, but Unicorns of Love, they're going straight for mid lane at the moment, and they see Pride very soon walking into that river.
Exile retreating back to his own jungle. Nuke Duck and Pride on the top side next to the Baron Pit. But the team retreating now.
So we're still waiting for a flash ult from Nuke Duck. Only Exile can get out of it with the QSS. So there's still a lot of ways to chain the Cho'Gath. CC and silence with the Malzahar CC and silence. You can keep someone in place for a long time, and he can't flash away if he's silenced.
And it's really tough. If you're White Knight, if you're Cold, if you're not tanky enough to survive that upfront burst, you're not going to get to use any of those fight resets we talked about. Luckily, White Knight comes prepared. He's got a little headband for himself. That's the Quicksilver Sash to stop any of that kind of action. And we have to wonder, as the Negatron Cloak comes out for Cold, if he's thinking the same thing.
We probably will get it on Samux as well in this game here. And then suddenly Nuke Duck is running out of targets. Always one of the problems for Malzahar in the late game, while his damage is still fine. In fact, he can't just easily lock down a carry with that ult. It's a big deal. Nuke Duck playing it smart and safe here for now, not overextending. Meanwhile, Schalke, everything just slowed down because they lost that huge fight in the bot lane, because Cold got that Rast earlier than expected. Level 13 on the Kayn, 2 kills, 2 assists, ton of farm under his belt as well. Actually, not that much farm.
Is getting out farm.
Dude, my brain was just going there. It just kept going.
Pride was incredibly active in the early game and did shut down a lot of the kind of farm up and scale opportunities for Cold, but now with those kills, does still make it quite easy. You see a bit of a trade happening in the mid lane, but meantime, Cold is setting up to pressure in on this side lane. Pretty easy for him to threaten the Cho'Gath, even without the Vladimir there.
We also know while Vladimir can get under pressure early against Chachi and the Cho'Gath, late game, his scaling is fantastic. So Schalke at the moment are looking to try and force a play while there's still some members without QSS. Nuke Duck didn't want to use it on Exile due to QSS. Samux is still a target. Flash QSS. Not Flash QSS. Flash ult him. Flash QSS would look weird.
I don't know the scenario where that would be appropriate, but maybe we can find one this game, as Cold takes a lot of return damage. Still wants to enter the fight through a flank for the most part. Not a lot of great gap closing tools for Kayn. The Reaping Slash Q is technically a gap closer, can be used to go over small walls, but it's so slow in terms of animation that you can't really use it to close any reliable distance.
So it kind of sucks sometimes being Braum against Malzahar. It's very hard to block most of his abilities. So few of them are an actual like skill shot you can deal with. Hold, no. Q, no. So Nuke Duck doesn't really care about the Braum in this game here. Upset will care about that one because he's sitting there just spitting away all game long.
And almost perfect Dragon Control.
Oh, they want to give it to Judge.
Yeah, give him the extra stat. Why not? Cold's waiting off to the side, but can't really afford to move into the pit there. Too many members of Schalke present. Probably not worth the steal in the end. course, you can check in on Vizicachi. Stacks are always going to be important. 8 on the Feast, so a lot of damage. Continues to be a big threat on that side lane. Has to be careful not to overextend, though. Cold is still here, waiting to punish.
Chachi's learned, man. It's like, nope, you know what? My team is all recalling. They're all resetting to get vision. Just don't do it. Go back. All the good boys on Schalke buying a ton of control wards. I like it. Gotta see the same from Unicorns of Love. They want to start making plays around Baron. Now there's no Drake, so the only objective for them at the moment is mid and top tower. Nukdog is killing top, Samax is killing mid.
Trading back and forth. Unicorns of Love.
This game is dead even, man.
Yeah, and that's crazy. After Schalke were so dominant early on, Unicorns of Love doing such a good job to come back. I think you have to throw some praise to Samix on the bottom side, being key in some of those team fights, and Cold as well. Kane, a very risky pick. You saw how much they gave up in the early game. They didn't have a jungler with any real kind of pressure, but it is paying off now that he has transformed.
And the amount of focus on Cold is insane, because he's also one of the most vocal members on Unicorns of Love. Kind of instantly became a bit of a leader when he joined the team, trying to change how they were playing the game, want to move over to his style. So we're not seeing the same super aggressive Unicorns of Love we've seen in the past, where it just seemed like there's non-stop action. They are trying to take it a lot slower, which didn't really pay off in week 1, but almost did with the Splice game.
And just to stay on Cold for a moment, the thing that surprised me most is not that he's taking over some leadership responsibility on his team. We kind of expect that from him.
Because we should highlight it is formerly Trashy of Splice, in case people haven't noticed.
Been considered, you know, pretty smart player, knows a lot about how to play the map, has a lot of experience across many rosters, but he's also playing carries every single game. So not only is he bearing the leadership burden, he's also bearing a lot of the damage burden here as we move later in the game.
All right, guys. Last year, Unicorns of Love would say, this is boring, let's go mid, force a fight. Here, Unicorns of Love not doing exactly the same. So their comp is very focused on actually having more disengage and kite back than necessarily
You see that all
engaging.
5 of them are mid right now, right?
They're not fighting. Old one would have been at the tier 2 tower now, hitting stuff.
Schalke's ready for the fight. Spooky Ghost going to stop that in its track. Added utility, happy to have on the side of White Knight.
But Schalke's comp can kill Baron so quickly, so Unicorns of Love are forced to stay around mid, because if they leave for just 5 seconds and Schalke start the Baron is dead. It's gone. So they have to stay around, try and keep Schalke here.
So hard to check it too. Upset now on the front line is going to get sniped. Could be in trouble. Leaping in, and down goes Exile, trying to disengage for Totoro, but it's too little too late. Schalke grabs the double. No response for the Unicorns. Baron in their sights.
Once again, it's Exile getting targeted by Schalke, shut down instantly in the fight here. We just talked about the quick Baron. They don't even have to rush it now. They can get it for free. Game slowed down, and Schalke were waiting for a moment to rush down the Baron, and Unicorns were trying to stop them and staying around mid. And then Upset just kind of walked at them with W on and killed them.
Yeah, nice QSS. Is not going to save you from a Kog'Maw, sadly. Will just continue to auto-attack you down. And now with Baron up, Schalke with a very large advantage for themselves.
So all 5 members are here from both teams. Let's see what happens. Obviously, Exile feels confident he can stay behind the Braum. When he walks in, Unicorns are very split at the moment. Cold is actually outside of your screen to the left. You walk in, Upset clicks W, walks at Exile, who got knocked up. Full range knockup from Chachi. And then he dies.
You know, Fiscio, not a lot to say about that one. I think poor positioning in the end for this team, and it will cost them a lot. As you mentioned, this is the threat of the Schalke lineup. If one member dies, very easy for them to turn to Baron. Now they have it in their back pocket. 2 minutes and 40 seconds the Unicorns of Love have to survive. Now they're looking for the fight. Eyes on Cold, not going to go for any engage.
And eyes on White Knight. He's the carry that can get to the back line and see if he can kill Upset. He's 3 levels above him at the moment, so he got the big spike of his ulti. Does have QSS to deal with Nukdog, but if he can't get to the back line, then no one is killing Upset right now, and then he will deal a ton of damage. So we are seeing if White Knight can do that. Cold is on the side now.
Cold. Blades reach. Where's it going to go? Only going to land the knockup onto one. Immediately going to ult in to try to reset the fight. They have knocked. White Knight, though, in the middle of the fight. White Knight is there as well. Trying to get out. Will use the QSS to make it to safety, but they've locked themselves up in the Cataclysm. Zhonya's comes in as well. Healing returns from the ult. Vizicachi moving in and taking down White Knight. Happy to use the feast. Advantage to Schalke.
And we need to see that replay. I think Samax knocked away Upset in that fight here. Made it even harder for Unicorns to actually kill him. We saw White Knight. He came for him. He was charging in there. Flash, Ghost, everything to try and reach Upset, but he couldn't. And in the end, Schalke win another fight. They got the Baron buff. That's going to be an in-hit.
Exile's getting chased down too. He can't go back to help the team. They're going to back off, but that's an inhibitor down. Schalke with perfect control over the base. They can't even comfortably approach at this point. No QSS for Samix yet. Means that Malzahar is still a death trap, and Nukeduck has ultimate available. If Unicorns of Love do not play this very carefully, they could lose the game right here.
See what happens. Nukeduck sitting around the corner. Will go for the flash ult.
Upset still pushing forward, still confident on that front line. We'll take a bit of damage back in exchange. Schalke happy with just the tower, though, not looking to risk anything else. They see the respawn timers ticking down. They decide it's time for them to get out. Baron empowered recall just to take them home.
You see that team fighting, and oh, just got out. That was a close one. Want to see the fight again because Upset was relying a lot on Vander, of course, as you should do when there's a Tahm Kench on your team, because he was in the front at first. But they couldn't actually get onto him. I think they all jumped Vander immediately. But we've had now 2 team fights in a row where it's been a few kills for Schalke, but those few kills have then given them either a Baron or a top inhib. So they've gotten a lot of reward for just a few kills in a fight. Unicorns Love trying with their limited engage to get to the back line here, and it is tough. White Knight is the man to do it, but it gets even harder if the enemy AD carry gets knocked away.
And triple Mountain Drake too, right?
So let's see it again here. The engage is fine. White Knight is a little bit too far away, but at least they know, okay, Upset is in the front. Try and go in and see if you can get onto him. They jump Vander, knock him up, and then ult onto Vander. And this knockback only favored Schalke right there. Made it much harder for White Knight to actually reach the back line. And Schalke, no, okay, turn it around. Kill whoever's right in front of us.
Really, really awkward team fight for the Unicorns of Love. Of course, you can see good damage coming out from the King. Keep in mind, between 2 knockups, between 2 blades reach, he only hit 1 target. So really not getting the most out of the champion overall. A difficult spot to be in. And honestly, Deficio, Vizicachi just continues to be a threat. Yes, he died on the Silent Lane. Yes, that was a mistake, but he's been hitting these ruptures so consistently. The silences disrupting both the Kayn and the Vladimir. Entirely reliant on casting spells. Immediately shut down in a lot of these extended fights.
6,000 gold from that Baron power play. White Knight once again looking for the flank. All summoners available except for TP from Chachi, so flashes to use in the next fight. And Schalke needs one more fight, and they can win this game. Cold is also on the side, here a little bit further north of where Schalke is placed, but he's not finding any engage. Slow and steady for Schalke, and Unicorns of Love had some opportunities to get back in the game. They did win the bot lane fight, but then they lost the following team fights, almost before they even really started.
They're really just not starting off on the right foot. They found the right skirmishes they needed at one point. But since then, it has been a bit disastrous.
Falling out a bit, not stepping out a bit.
Yeah.
Someone is also standing next to the bed, punching them in the face when they get out to make it even worse.
It's called assault. They're getting assaulted. It's nothing to do with beds at that point. Well, Vizicachi, terrifying Cho'Gath, 11 stacks, has been doing well, but honestly this feels like such a big team effort. Nukeduck was kind of the first catalyst to get this ball rolling, but everyone is pressuring out waves. Schalke really are playing as a team here, whereas individual pieces just haven't quite been falling into place for Unicorns of Love.
See if they get one more fight. Should at least have one left in this game, where they have to be able to win against Schalke. If they can't get too upset, they need to kill the front line, but that's an unkillable Cho'Gath at the moment, and they probably don't have the damage to do that fast enough. So it feels like it is kill Nukeduck or upset in the back line as the main goal.
Yeah, and the issue is there's a theoretical world where Vlad or, you know, Kayn, if they're left alone long enough with the Cho'Gath, they can kill him. Yes, they do a lot of damage. Yes, they have a lot of sustain, but they just don't kill anything fast enough. And that's going to be the big issue.
And Vander, of course, is here to ruin the day when you do go for the back line. So if they can actually CC Vander, then switch targets like they tried to do in the last fight.
Yeah, but now we're talking about killing just a Vlad and a Kayn, and there's still a Cog Bomb. There's still a Malzahar, right? And the issue, as we always see with this Cho'Gath, is that he's a tank, and he's a giant damage threat. If you ignore him in a fight, he'll just walk at your AD carry and eat them.
Click E, start auto-attacking people in the face, and then eventually feast them. Pretty serious damage from Mr. Chachi's side. Baron is not alive, so Schalke can't just go for it straight away. But triple Mountain Drake, champions that also kill Baron fast on their own, means that I will say this Baron dies in 2.5 seconds.
2.5? I'm going to give it 4.
When they go for the Baron.
4, okay. Only...
Why did I say 2.5? It's kind of annoying to count the half. 3 seconds.
3, fine. I said 4. We'll find out.
Unless we get a fight first.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love still very confident to step forward here. Good to see.
They might rush it to try and force the TP from Chachi.
Yeah, it's really their only option.
Yeah, they kind of have to do this. This is risky, but they kind of forced to go for this play.
Kane does a lot of damage here. They have multiple damage threats to do this, but Vander and Upset are in position. Vizichachi now TPing in even under the tower. Unicorns of Love looking to pull back. Vizichachi's on the backside. Samic's going to move out to safety. Cold on the front line, just where he wants to be. He can keep the decent damage. Moving out. White Knight gets taken out on the backside. Upset has already found one kill. Moving in onto Cold. Cold needs to find a way out of the fight immediately, but he is silenced and knocked up. Not going to be in a lot of opportunities. Has the ult. Don't even think he's going to get to push the button. Yes, will go inside Upset. Not quite the target. Rather, Pride getting the heal. Getting the four-man knock-up. Trying to buy what time he can, but Upset takes him down in the end.
There's a big minion wave near the base, but Samix is back early to kill it. Here's Vander though.
Multiple members of Schalke now pushing in. They have the creep wave there. Samix, can he clear it out? Can he be the hero that this team needs?
Another wave is coming though. Chachi needs to be in the front. Just make sure they can't kill the wave.
No, instantly cut down. That is the power of this Schalke composition. Schalke, no fear, cutting through the Unicorns. One last team fight to make it count. It was the desperate stand for the Unicorns of Love, but it's going to be the second win for the Schalke no fear lineup.
And felt like Schalke was in full control except for that one play in the bottom lane. After that, the game slowed down, but the following fight was Upset clicked W, and Chachi landed a full range knockup on Exile, then Exile died, and Schalke got Baron. So we never really got the Unicorns of Love when they were back in the game. See their like, full potential in the team fight because they just got a kill on Exile.
Once they found that opportunity and said Unicorns of Love, it felt like Schalke were like, okay, we're not unstoppable. We're backing off. We're playing a little bit slower. We're going to respect the potential for Kane to show up. We saw Vizichachi, who has been caught out a lot in past weeks, playing very back, playing very reserved. And ultimately, this team playing to their win conditions in the end.
I mean, they knew they could go Baron eventually in this game and get it with the Feast. So really no reason for them to take any chances, which they didn't do. We just got to say on the other side for Unicorns of Love, this is a tough spot because it doesn't seem to be synergy or communication issues. It's just a lot of mechanical misplays from certain members. And that just means that you make some mistakes you shouldn't. That give a big advantage to the other team that's pretty hard to then get out of or get away from.
It's a tough spot. Has not been a great first 2 weeks thus far for Unicorns of Love. We'll see if they can shift it around tomorrow. They had some drafting, or felt like drafting, or maybe execution errors, depending on how you interpret their first game. Then, of course, a long, very grueling loss against Splice, and now this game where they felt mostly like it was out of their hands. They had one moment, they took that shot, they found a way to get back in the game, but from there, wasn't a whole lot.
Also good to see that Vander's role swap to support was successful in his first game.
Yeah.
I think like he had a solid performance. It's tough when you're used to being an AD carry, certainly having to play support on the big stage, but he did well with that role swap.
More importantly, Mr. Memer, Upset's first game, looking good. Looking like an excellent addition to the team, was just a role player that time around, sat in the bot lane, farmed up, but when it came time to deal damage in the team fights, he was comfortable, he was confident, he was on the front line when he needed to be.
Yeah, early game was all nuke duck in that mid lane, and he
but you have to give credit to Pride too, because not only did he get the red buff when Kane invaded him despite being incredibly low.
That was good, you're right.
He also counter-jungled. They placed down Vision to stop Kane from doing absolutely anything, and overall the Schalke effort in the early game just to stop Cold from being a threat at all was very well played.
Now I'm confused. It says Pride Stalker on his jersey. It says Pride in-game.
It's Pride.
It's Pride?
It's Pride.
Pride?
No longer a stalker, just Pride. Pride stalker.
Good evolution for him.
Yeah, it's good. I apologize. That was it was in poor taste. But Pride, I mean, playing really well, and we continue to see him be very effective when he does decide to gank lanes, very good at getting all of his camps when he's not, and relevant in the fights. And Jarvan, not always the most exciting champion to watch, but he's still pathed very, very well.
He's definitely doing his job on this team, and he's so good at just always keeping up a ton of farm. Like, he knows exactly when the camps are respawning. Boom, he's sitting there. He takes care of them. The only bad thing in this game from Schalke was, again, the bot lane situation where they did get caught out and then tried to save it. And then Vizichachi up in the top lane, overextending. He's sitting over there getting ready for an interview. We're going to talk about him on Cho'Gath, walking too far up a lane when his mid lane and jungler are recalling, so a Kane can kill him.
It's true.
Shame on you, Chachi. I see you over there smiling.
Don't
he's saying like, no.
He's getting ready for an interview alongside Vander.
Oh,
so
I see that.
We'll hear what they have to say shortly. Division is shaming Chachi because this has been an issue in the past, but he fixed it this game. That's what I like. But
You
he
saw
did
it.
it. No, but you saw him back off.
After he died top lane,
All right.
he backed away.
Well, it's time, as always, for Player of the Game, folks. Our analysts have picked out Upset, Nuke Duck, and Visit Chachi for Player of the Game vote. We want to know what your favorite is, so you can check out LOL Esports on Twitter. You can decide who's going to come out on top. We're going to reveal the winner in the ULCS post-game lobby in just a few minutes.
Don't go anywhere. Watch the post-game lobby. It's going to be interesting. We got some good guests and videos.
You're a cruel man. All right, well, Schalke No Fear secured the win to close out the day. Let's head over to Law, who's ready with their top laner and support.
Thank you very much, guys. I was just joined by Visit Chachi and Vendor after this amazing win against Unicorns of Love. Well, thank you guys for joining me, and congratulations, of course. Chachi, it must have been weird for you to play against your own teammates, right?
Thank you very much. Yes, it was quite a weird feeling to face them on the rift, on the other side of the rift this time. And well, it was quite a controlled game, and I feel like we made a few mistakes, but it was like a solid play from us.
Was it an advantage for you to know how the mid laner and the AD carry opponent were playing?
It was a bit of advantage because I know like their champion pools and such, so we were discussing this thoroughly with the coaching staff, and we were like trying to draft around it a bit. Apart from that, it's like play styles are really hard to predict, but we know that they like to play aggressive, so we try to abuse it a bit with like a bit of top lane roams or something, and it worked out like once, so that gives a lot of pressure for our mid laner.
Yeah, and Vander, it must have been a special game for you because it was the first as your main role support. How was it last week playing AD carry on stage for the first time?
It was pretty cool to play
Yeah.
ADC last week. So it's pretty cool to have a chance to play on stage as well.
Why is that microphone not on?
Obviously, we're really happy that Upset is back
Yeah.
in the team.
Get him a new microphone. Take our update.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but could you guys share the microphone?
Hello, hello. Okay.
Hey.
I guess you can hear me now. Yeah, so it was pretty cool to play ADC last week, but Upset is the young prodigy of the ADC role, and we have a lot of hopes in him. So we're really happy he's back, and he's gonna carry a lot of games. Today he was still a bit sick, but next week he's gonna pop off.
Well, how do you feel playing around him? Because you've been used to Forgiven for a long time. How is it to play with this new AD carry?
So Upset has a bit more hair. I guess that's the biggest difference actually, because they are both really aggressive in lane, and they both play really good. I think people will actually see a lot of similarities between both of them. Just wait and see.
And Chachi, it's actually the first time you're changing a team since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. How is it to evolve in a new environment with new coaching staff, new teammates also?
Well, it's kind of like a new experience, of course, and I so far really like it because I think I have really good teammates and very supportive coaching staff. So I'm really enjoying playing for Schalke. So I hope it stays like this and we get a lot of success.
About Schalke, I have a last question for you two. You guys were recently introduced in like a whole stadium in front of 40K people. How is it different from what you guys see in here or maybe at Worlds on stage?
Well, there's 50,000 people in the Schalke stadium when we got introduced, and here we have a little bit less, but they're also we really love them as well. But it's really, how to say it, unique experience. We weren't there for a long time, but still we got some recognition, so we feel good that the club is also supporting us and sharing some time between the main football squad and us. It feels great.
And Chachi, how about you?
Yeah, it was quite an experience to stand on the pitch because watching it from an outside perspective, you wouldn't think how it is to stand on the pitch that feels so large from the inside. But it's quite similar to when you go to a large esports event, for example, a finals of an LCS, when there is 10,000 people watching. So I would say it was similar experience for me to stand on the pitch.
Well, I hope you guys will have to experience that this year in the Spring Splits. For now on, we're done on this side of the stage. Thank you guys very much for joining me today. And we're going to send it back to Shux and the guys for the European post-game lobby.
Thank you very much, Laura. Welcome to the EU LCS post-game lobby. I'm here with Amber, Vedius Day, and Cold from the Unicorns of Love for a closer look at today's games in the spring split. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? Cold, thank you very much for joining us. Mustn't be easy. You guys didn't get off to the best start also in this game versus Schalke. What would you say it came down to in this specific game?
I feel like we were taking a little bit of a gamble in the draft that didn't pay out. I don't want to go too much into it because it will show like some of our thought process, but it didn't really turn out the way I expected it to, and that ended up me playing Kane, which I haven't done for quite some time.
Oh, we thought that was planned.
No. But in that moment, it was the only pick that could actually help us win the game, so I had to pick that. But yeah, generally we had a plan, but then it didn't really turn out, and then we ended up dying in mid to a roam, and it was rather rough for Exile in the game. And then when you play champs like Kane and you don't get a lead, then they will slowly just grind you out, and you have to wait for your upgrade to actually do anything in the game. And that was kind of what we played on. And then when I got it, I actually felt like we could win the game, but we made some small mistakes. And right now we're in a state where we're still gelling together, so it kind of shows in the games.
Yeah, and I think that's also to be expected. You know, the team is very much reshuffled. We're looking a lot at what is Sheepy going to do with this squad. So what is kind of your guys' time frame? When do you want to be kind of more in sync? Do you have the goal for playoffs? Do you think, no, it's really just about gelling this split?
I mean, the goal for the team is to get to playoffs, and I think everyone on the team understands this and are working hard every day to reach this. I don't know if we will get there, but right now it doesn't look too hot, obviously, with being 0-3. But every day we wake up and we work hard and we have healthy discussions about how we can get better, and that is the most important thing in the team. So I'm not really too worried about being 0-3 as long as it doesn't affect like how you progress as a team in practice and your mindset towards just playing every day in general.
But I've got to ask, Cold, because I feel like that recently you've been performing extremely well. You've completely changed up your playstyle. You seem to be playing way more assassins. You're hyper-aggressive now. And I feel like that during the off-season, you know, you went away, you took a break, you even went to Brazil to do some personal training. Like, how much did that affect your new mentality, or is it the change in team? What's made this change in Cold?
I think the people that were close to me last year all knew that I was going through some stuff that wasn't really healthy for me, and I needed a mental break to just get away from everything. And that the trip I did to Brazil for 1 month, where I just took a break from everything, kind of just gave me like a reset. And I realized that for me the most important thing is you do this for a living because you have the passion to play the game, but if you don't actually wake up every day and enjoy what you're doing, then why are you actually doing it? So I realized that I want to wake up every day, have fun, enjoy what I'm doing, and right now even though we're losing, which really sucks, I'm still like having a good time, and I'm enjoying myself. So I think that's the biggest change, and it kind of shows in my play that I'm trying more stuff. I'm willing to do more stuff in the game, and yeah, I think just happiness overall is kind of pushing me.
I want to follow up on that. You say having more fun trying things. Evelyn, first pick, a Rengar in the second game, a Kane here. Maybe it was forced out, but that definitely feels like a fresh start for you. You say being happy is really important. Is that one of the reasons why you decided to make the Unicorns of Love your new team? Because that's definitely the impression we get of them as an organization.
I mean, it had definitely some impact on it. It was not 100%. That's why, like, I talked a lot with Sheepy before signing with UOL on their vision on the team and how he wants to play the game and all this kind of stuff. And I had a lot of agreements with how he wanted to do things. But yeah, I had some different offers too from other teams where I could go, but I wasn't sure if it was the right thing for me in the moment. It might have been some better teams or some more prestige teams, but I wanted this year to focus more on myself because I haven't really done that in the past years, where the grind just kind of took over playing. And I don't think that was healthy for me.
All right, well, it's a fresh start, and we'll keep track of how the Unicorns of Love evolve. I do want to touch back on the match and on Schalke 04. There, the player of the game was Nukeduck with 42% of the votes. Verius anticipated return of upset, but much like last week also, Nukeduck definitely played his part.
Oh, yeah. He did go for that Malzahar pick. We heard from the casters that he seems pretty comfortable playing pretty much anything into anything, and we saw that from his performance today. I think that they did an effective job of punishing the fact that he was playing the Azir in the mid lane. He was struggling a little bit, and the moment he hit 6, he was flashing in, he was ulting, and he was really setting up a lot of the early game snowball that Schalke was able to capitalize on.
Very skilled champion.
Oh yes, very skilled champion. A lot of outplaying happened against Exile today.
Yeah, you still got to play it. Cold, what do you think about Schalke 04 as a squad? They have a lot of hype.
I think overall they just have 5 good players that are willing to do stuff for the team, and I think today they played very well. They did some small mistakes that we capitalized on, but overall they had a more solid macro play than us, I feel like, and that kind of showed in the game. So I think overall they're gonna be a good team in Europe this split. And since I've been working with some of their staff behind the scenes before, I'm pretty certain they will push them to become a good team.
Oh yeah, that is true. There's some people there that you know from the past. Well, we'll see what happens there as well. But the best team in Europe right now is Vitality. They went into the week as the only team with 2 wins, and they stayed on the winning track as they took down Fnatic after an impressive performance. So people were saying, well, Vitality had a great first week, but now they also beat Fnatic, so it's starting to count, because it's not just that they beat Fnatic, it is how they beat Fnatic.
Yeah, they destroyed Fnatic.
Yeah.
The mid laner Jizuke, we were talking about him versus Caps and how he's kind of now the rookie going up against the veteran who's now been playing for a year. He kind of schooled the veteran.
Yes, but here though, do you also not feel that they were trying to set him up for success a lot?
Sure, of course, like you have to give a lot of credit to Gilius as well, because they invested in the mid lane. It's a strategy we've seen used against Fnatic too, but like, look at the fancy footwork on this guy. He had an amazing performance, and Jizuke certainly has become one of the most exciting players to watch here in Europe.
Yeah, throughout this PGL, we want to keep track of some of the impressive rookies. I was going to say Jukis. Jizuke is a rookie, and he's doing really well. Cold. It must be really cool for these new players. They have a bit of stress to play games like this. Do you think this is gonna help the Vitality squad develop fast into like main tier?
Definitely. Like I think when I look at their team, it's a team that is rather based around confidence. And when they get confidence, then they will take more aggressive decisions in the game, and that is what they're doing right now. We see Gilius like ganking left and right and just tilting Caps off the roof. Yeah, I would not want to to be Caps at the game, but I feel like with time they are gonna be worse than they are now actually, because what we don't actually talk much about is that the core of the team and the shot calling of the team has been together for a long time, where a lot of other teams are just completely new, and that's why I think they should have an advantage. And just judging off practice, I don't think they're going to be that good to split.
Wow, that's actually really interesting, because something that we were discussing about with regards to this roster is that they are very used to winning. They came through Challenger, winning a lot of games. They were able to beat out Schalke and with a like top-seeded team coming in through. And now they've joined the LCS, and they've just kept winning.
They're still winning.
And it makes you wonder, what happens when they hit that first bump? How do they adapt? How do they grow? Because they've shown that right now they're looking very good, but their ability to adapt and come back from deficits is still something that we're yet to see.
I want to turn it to the other team then. You say, well, Vitality has 4 members that have played together for so long, so it shouldn't be that hard for them, while other teams are figuring it out. Fnatic only changed 1 member coming into the split and is running into these issues. But then it could be that it's just that one change, and Hylissang might be very different for Fnatic than other changes on other teams. What do you think, Colt?
Ooh, I mean, I have never played with Hylissang myself, so I don't want to judge too much, but I don't think necessarily he is what's going to make them get to a new level. Maybe it's their new coaching staff or staff in general that can help them push themselves, but I wouldn't be too worried about Fnatic. I think they have shown really great early games, and they just need to know how to utilize their leads they get in the mid game. So I wouldn't be too worried. And then they always do the classic when they fall behind, then Reckless will start split pushing and this kind of stuff. I don't know if it's the best play, but that's always their fallback play. And actually in this game, Vitality punished him for doing it. Nice voice.
Hard.
I think they're going to be doing it a lot more too. Like the fact
Fnatic
that this is,
or Vital?
Fnatic. The fact that they keep relying on Reckless to suddenly carry them from when they're behind, I think is something that we have seen become a point of constant punishment that last year or last split even, teams couldn't effectively shut down, but it seems like teams have a much better read on Fnatic coming into this split. And I have to echo what Cold was saying. The mid game seems to be very shocking right now for Fnatic. I still think they're figuring out what it's like to have Hylissang, how to shot call, the communication within the team, but it seems very messy. And
how often do you get to see Hylissang play Janna?
That's true. That is very true.
Flash Monsoon every time as an engage tool. No, obviously we'll have to track how that evolves from the side of Fnatic. They're also going up against G2 tomorrow, but we'll talk about that a bit later. I do want to touch on some other matches first. Misfits Gaming. A lot of familiar faces there for Cold, I think. They secured their second win of the split against H2K. It was slow. The first blood came really late, and then all of a sudden the game turned around and they found the win. I don't know if this is with caster audio or not, if we're going to take a look at that replay, or if we're just going to take a look at it. There we go. So first, nothing happened to Verius. There was a technical issue. We came back and the game was over.
Yeah, so H2K tried to force a Baron in a non-optimal time, and the way they played around it was just a little odd by grouping up in the pit and kind of locking themselves in a cage without any real way out. Misfits saw this as a free opportunity to pretty much claim an easy objective, and then they saw an opportunity and they just kept running it down top, and it felt like the H2K, after that small blunder, just couldn't really find their footing once again.
Yeah, I wonder if that's also a bit of the experience of some of the members of Misfits who've played together for a while, that they made that call and then they just decided to close out, which isn't such an easy thing as what we've seen. Teams have struggled with closing games out.
But I also think the game was a very Misfits-ish game, with just a slow play. They were grinding out their opponents in vision, and then they had a really strong core of Zoe and Kog'Maw that can work together in the mid game when they get their item spikes. And then the moment they had their spikes, they took fights, and Kog'Maw was just rolling over people in the game. So I think they played the game the way they're supposed to, so which is kind of the way that Misfits wants to play the game. So I think this was just, I think they're happy with how the game worked for them, and this is probably how they're gonna play more in the future.
Yeah, we can see what happens. Sankox and Mickey X are guys that you played with for so long. What do you think of them in that configuration with those other teammates? How do you think they will do with that lineup?
I think in the start it will take a little bit time for them to get used to the system that Misfits wants to use in game. But I think they're both rather hungry to try something new. It's kind of the same with me. Like it's funny because I was sitting down doing an interview yesterday, and people were asking me like, "Well, how is it like? What was it like when everyone split up from each other?" And honestly, like I knew this would happen like long time before it actually happened. So I'm just excited to watch how they do and how they can grow in another team and learn something. Because when you play together for 2 years and you're kind of stagnating and you're in the same environment all the time, maybe you need an outside point of view to like, how do you push yourself harder, or how do you get better at this area, or there's a lot of things in the game you can always learn, and I hope they succeed. They're good friends of mine, so
happy mentality, always positive, Mr. Cold over here.
Yeah, he's now a Unicorns of Love player too, so they're genuinely, naturally very
Everything
happy.
happens for a reason.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. Giants, they won again, and that happened for a reason as well. They've put on a great showing so far. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, okay, so, and they took down the LCS champions of G2 earlier today. I mean, what a great way to start, right? One player that we had our eyes on was Ruin coming into the split. We talked about how he was an exciting individual. He was the only remaining rookie on the Giants roster. You can leave, I can just sit here with Cold, I'll be fine. But he had an amazing performance. Again, he did fine in lane, but his true power came in these late game team fights.
Yeah, absolutely insane. This time on Gnar, of course, it was on Ornn last week around. We were thinking, okay, is this a fluke? Is this gonna happen again? And it was almost like he 1v5'd. Although I don't want to take anything away from the rest of the team, obviously, but Ruin is an impressive rookie. Cold? Is it the most impressive rookie you've seen so far? Or is there anyone else?
I remember last week when me and White and I decided to gank him. Just made the most insane outplay with Ornn just pressing W under the tower, and we cannot kill him. Like, it was the most insane play ever.
I mean, you still died.
I probably watched it like 20 times, and it was
We also
thickest
keep
outplay.
showing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Every time I have an argument with White and I'll just put this up and got outplayed with Ornn.
But one of the big things I do want to say about Rune is, while yes, certain elements of outplay were involved in his laning phase, his true strength does come when he gets an advantage in a side lane and then he brings it to his team. And while the rest of Giants have been playing fantastically, you can credit every single member for their performance today. It's just a lot about what Rune does and his positioning and how he gets involved in these fights that, for me, has been really impressive considering how new he is to the LCS.
And that could be the key. Also, we asked the question, will these rookies or upstarts, these new EU LCS faces, be the ones that get the others on Giants going? And that seems to be the case. The fire has been lit on that team, so we should see how it evolves. Cold, you said before we shouldn't be worried about Fnatic. What's your opinion about G2?
Ooh, I mean, it's up in the air, kind of. Honestly, it's so hard when we talk about some of these new teams where they're just putting in players together, because we really have no clue how they're gonna work out in the end. I think around like week 4 or 5 we will have a better read on teams, also on UOL as a team. Like, I don't know right now how we're gonna work out. All I know is that we work our hardest every day to reach a level where we can compete against any team, and that is how every team is approaching the situation right now. So we will just have to see. I think they have strong players on every role. I think Wonder was actually probably the guy that I learned the most from Splice, and he's probably one of the most underrated players in the league. So I think with time they will be very good.
Well, it is a big question. Vedi, I'd like to get your opinion on this as well as we take a look at the standings, as we see Vitality still undefeated at the top of the league, and then we have Giants, Rocket, Misfits, and Schalke. At what point do we stop saying, oh, Giants doing well, Rocket doing well, you know, it's best of ones, it is the first couple of weeks of the split, and at what point do we start saying, you know what, these teams are actually good, and others are just not at the right spot yet at this
So for me, I'm already happy to say it. I'm sure that it would be great to have another week of games and have a little bit more evidence. But for teams like Giants, for teams like Vitality, I'm looking at these rosters and I'm seeing already a lot of growth and a lot of potential very early on in the split. And it's just about how long can they carry this on for. Whereas teams like Fnatic and G2, I feel like that considering what they were to what they are now, I'm very shocked with the sudden drastic change, especially with a team like Fnatic that didn't really make that many changes. And I feel like right now, they are a kind of a middle-of-the-pack team. And I hope that they're able to rectify their issues quickly, because you've got a lot of young talent, very keen, very eager, that just want to be the best as quickly as possible.
When you look at, obviously for you guys now 0-3, and the fact that it's best of ones again, does it feel different? Is it more scary being 3 games down, or is it less scary?
I think it's
then if you lose
equally scary.
I mean, if you lose a best of 3, right, it might impact you harder, but in the end of the day, it's only one series that you lost, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would always rather play more games and get more time on stage, especially when you're a new team. Like, I see so much difference from how we play in practice and how we play on stage, and that doesn't just change over the night. That will change. That takes a lot of games on stage, being able to do exactly what you do in practice in game and stuff like this. So it will just take time, and whoever gets to the point where you play the same level in practice on stage the fastest will just wrap up games. And I also think maybe Giants, yeah. I mean, they're saying they're playing just as good in on stage. So
can you confirm?
I cannot confirm anything. I mean, against us, they kind of just slaughtered us. So yeah, I mean, they were playing well. I think there's also like a good debate of like how the meta is evolving. And we see a lot of the teams that are getting wins now are playing very focused on scaling champions.
Oh yeah.
And if you are a team that wants to actually improve a lot, playing more early game comps, where you need to do every step correct in order to win the game, is way more rewarding in that way. But and maybe will make you a better team in the long run. Whereas now, if you just pick for scaling comps and try to farm for 25 minutes, maybe you can get a win or two. But does that really help you improve as a team? So I think it's just different approaches to how you want to get better as a team. And every team has different approach. And I see a lot of the teams that are winning now are playing very heavily on scaling. And sure, that might be the meta right now. But I think if you actually execute early game comps in the state of the game, then you can actually just roll over these scaling comps because you're giving up so much pressure in the early game.
But it's risky. We saw Misfits do it last week, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm looking at this and I think that as long as you make playoffs, that's the ultimate goal of any team, because during the regular season, you're trying to improve, you're trying to get better, and you want to work on your synergy, and naturally having more games makes it much easier. But I still think that teams that are consistently improving will pick up wins, and the top 6 teams in Europe will be able to secure a spot in playoffs. And when I look at it, I think that the ultimate goal of every team should be, we want enough points of playoffs, but really we just want to get as good as we possibly can in time for that moment so that we can really show our stuff, very much like Misfits did in summer of last year.
Well, that's what we're tracking right now. The same goes for two very interesting teams that are playing tomorrow. We get the first fight between Fnatic and G2 in our match of the week as they face off in a clash of kings. Before we talk it over, let's take a look at what is in store.
Royalty. That's what this is all about. Royalty. Old kings and new kings. Just a dogfight for the throne.
It's all about the G2 dynasty. It's all about Perkz being the best mid laner in Europe. And I think there's a lot of Fnatic fans and a lot of Fnatic players who really wants to change that.
It's not a pretty thing. The blood, the loss, the crushing failures.
We have failed to achieve what we wanted the most, going very far up to the worlds.
When I'm not reaching the highest goals that there is out there, I feel really, really bad. And I feel like I failed everyone around me, and especially myself.
This isn't the era of perfect splits or flawless runs.
I've failed myself for more than 2 years now, and I'm not sure for how much longer I can take it.
This is the era of sacrifice.
I've put my heart and soul into this game for more than a third of my life already.
Us changing roster is the best thing that could happen for me. I'm really looking forward to this journey with my new team.
Isn't over yet. Oh, Alfari's going to run for his life. Rooted up, but still pulled. Knocked up, not quite going to connect. No chance, though.
So when these kings clash, do not expect mercy or forgiveness. In this bitter rivalry, there is room for neither.
When I look at Caps, I see a player that can rival Perkz.
I don't care about being king of Europe.
The babysitter can't keep the baby alive.
My goal is much bigger. I want to be king of everything. This is a battle of tooth and nail, of fire and fury. This is a clash of kings.
This time is on his own, or is he? It's Soaz tagging in. It's never just one member of Fnatic. I did not think that was going to happen. Reckless tags his way in, and that is going to be it. That croc is huge. It's a shutdown now for Perkz. Take some time. That's another for Reckless. The Fnatic faithful go mad.
It's all about taking the trophy back.
That makes it a double for Reckless.
I almost wanted to get off my seat because I was so excited about what these players are saying and what symbolism is going to be in that match tomorrow. And for me personally, I like it even more that the two teams didn't get off to a perfect start. That the two teams have something more even to prove playing versus each other tomorrow.
That was so epic. I loved hearing from all the players how much it means to them to be able to get this win and really what their ultimate goal is at the end of the split. Right now they are struggling, but getting a win tomorrow for both those teams and kind of asserting their dominance over the other king is going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, Cold. Do you think you can pick a clear favorite for that matchup, or due to the circumstances, is it really up in the air?
Oof. It's really hard, honestly. I would probably put Fnatic as the favorite, just due to the fact that I think G2 has been looking weaker in like the games where the 2 games last week from Fnatic, they looked very strong. They just messed up a little bit in the second game that made them lose the game. So I would put them as the favorite. I think it's probably gonna be a lot of fighting in the mid, and if I know the two mid laners well enough, then it's probably just gonna be the luckier jungler or the better jungler that wins. So
who's the better jungler?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
We'll find out tomorrow.
I do want to say, though, if one of them picks Skarner, I don't think that one is going to be the luckier one. But other than that, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Vedius, do you want to say it? Who's the better jungler? Who's the better team?
Right now, I think that Fnatic are the stronger team, but I look at some of the individual performers and I see people like Wonder, who's really been stepping up. I think Jankos and Perks together have been really good. If they just play a similar style to what Vitality did, there's no reason why G2 can't take that game.
All right, I'd love to talk to you guys a bit more about that matchup, but we do have to wrap up soon. And there are 4 other interesting matchups. Tomorrow, we're going to start off with H2K versus Giants. We're also going to have Vitality looking to go 4-0 as they go up versus Misfits. Cold, you guys are up versus Rocket tomorrow. Rocket has had a pretty good start as well. What do you think it's going to come down to there?
Draft.
Draft.
If my coach is good, we'll win.
All right, well.
All the pressure on Sheepy right now.
No, I think, honestly, right now, we are just trying our best every game, and I don't think there's much difference in skill. Like, we could have easily been 1 and 2 at this point.
It's true.
A
base race.
Yeah,
Very close.
There's just a lot of factors that go into this. So I think just judging of how we play in practice, I think if we play almost near that, then we can easily beat Rocket. So honestly, just comes down to how we play on the day and how prepared we are, and we will do our best.
Well, we will see. Vedius, is Vitality going to be fear, that's Dutch, 4-0 after playing Misfits tomorrow?
I think that Misfits will be able to take the win tomorrow and they will end their streak. I like the way Misfits have been playing. I like the control. I like the confidence from them. And I cannot wait to see Gilius and Maxtor finally butt heads and prove once and for all who is the better jungler between the two.
I wish it could be right now, but we're going to sleep on it and then come back to watch these games. And after our broadcast, NALCS Academy is also going to take over, starting with a fight between Clutch Gaming Academy and CLG Academy. And in case you missed any of today's action, remember that you can catch all of the games when they are rebroadcast immediately following NALCS Academy. That's going to do it from us. Thank you very much for joining us, Cold. Thank you very much for joining me, Vedius. Good luck tomorrow. And join us tomorrow for more action in the UOLCS. Until then, have a fantastic night.
We're going to give a quick shout out to the Dublin City University and the 2018 Collegiate Champion combination. Jankos, now the man that's in trouble. Perks gets the Shurima shuffle down. Targamot is up. Jankos is going low. Steel is protected. That's a great mega dog from Ruin. Sets up Betsy and Steel back to knock them down. And the Giants will take down G2. No wonder is now joining the fight at the heart of the secondary drop. Then Prophet to safety. The Forge gone in. Called it blocked.